Among the many high-security prisons in the world, some stand out for their extreme conditions, rigid discipline, and intense environments. One such institution is the world's toughest female prison, known for its brutal treatment, harsh living conditions, and extreme security measures. This prison is unique because it does not just house ordinary criminals. It holds some of the most dangerous and notorious female offenders, including murderers, drug lords, and violent gang members. One of the key factors that make this prison different from others is its unforgiving daily routine. Inmates are subjected to strict regulations, minimal privileges, and constant surveillance. Unlike many modern prisons that focus on rehabilitation, this facility operates under a punishment-first approach, where discipline is enforced through isolation, physical labor, and rigid schedules. Guards maintain complete control, and even minor infractions can result in severe consequences, such as solitary confinement or reduced meal rations. Another aspect that sets this prison apart is its harsh environment. The infrastructure is often outdated, with overcrowded cells, poor sanitation, and extreme weather conditions making survival a daily battle. Many inmates experience psychological stress, knowing that their chances of early release are almost non-existent. Additionally, this prison is unique because it rarely allows outside interaction. Family visits, phone calls, and letters are either heavily monitored or completely restricted. This isolation makes reintegration into society almost impossible, turning many inmates into hardened criminals rather than reformed individuals. Despite these extreme conditions, some prisoners attempt to adapt and survive, while others succumb to the brutal reality of their situation. This prison stands as a symbol of absolute control and punishment, making it one of the most feared correctional facilities for women in the world. Prisons for female inmates vary across the world, with some being notorious for their harsh conditions, brutal treatment, and extreme security measures. While many facilities are designed for rehabilitation, others operate under a strict punishment-first approach. Here's how the world's toughest female prison compares to some of the most feared women's prisons globally. 1. Security and control measures. The toughest female prison is known for its zero-tolerance policy toward violence, escape attempts, and disobedience. Inmates are constantly monitored, and even minor rule-breaking results in severe punishments such as solitary confinement. Other prisons, like El Buen Pastor prison in Colombia, also enforce strict control, but corruption often allows influential inmates to gain power, making it a dangerous place due to internal gang violence too. Living conditions. Compared to other prisons, the world's toughest female prison offers minimal privileges and poor living conditions. Cells are overcrowded, hygiene is poor, and medical care is limited. Prisons like Black Dolphin Prison, Russia, house male and female inmates under similarly harsh conditions, where prisoners live in total isolation and follow military-style discipline. In contrast, some Western prisons, like those in Norway, prioritize humane treatment and rehabilitation. 3. Psychological and physical challenges. The prison environment forces inmates to endure extreme psychological stress, knowing that their chances of release or appeal are slim. This is similar to Thailand's Klong Prem prison, where overcrowding and lack of basic resources create a constant struggle for survival. However, some prisons, such as those in Scandinavian countries, focus on mental health programs to reduce recidivism. 4. Rehabilitation versus punishment. Unlike many modern prisons that focus on reintegration, the toughest female prison operates more like a detention center with no hope for reform. In contrast, places like Germany's JVA Frauenprison emphasize skill development, therapy, and education to help inmates rebuild their lives after release. While several prisons worldwide are infamous for their harsh treatment of female inmates, the world's toughest female prison stands out due to its uncompromising security, brutal discipline, and complete lack of rehabilitation efforts. Compared to other notorious facilities, it represents the extreme end of the prison system, where survival, not reform, becomes the primary goal for inmates. Female prisons around the world vary significantly in their security levels, treatment of inmates, and overall living conditions. While some prisons emphasize rehabilitation, others operate with extreme punishment and strict control. Here's how the world's toughest female prison compares to others based on these factors. 1. Security measures. The world's toughest female prison is known for its maximum security protocols designed to prevent escapes and maintain strict control over inmates. High-tech surveillance, armed guards, and constant monitoring are standard. In comparison, Black Dolphin Prison, Russia, prisoners, including women, live under 24/7 surveillance with no privacy and extreme isolation. El Buen Pastor Prison, Colombia. Security is strict, but internal gang violence and corruption often make the prison more dangerous for inmates than the guards themselves. Norwegian prisons, Norway. Even high-security female prisons focus on humane treatment and reintegration, with lower restrictions compared to the world's toughest female prison too. Treatment of inmates. Treatment in the toughest female prison is harsh and dehumanizing, designed to break the will of prisoners rather than rehabilitate them. Punishments include solitary confinement, restricted food rations, and intense labor. Comparatively, Klong Prem Prison, Thailand. Women endure overcrowding, lack of medical care, and forced labor, similar to some of the toughest prisons worldwide. United States maximum security prisons. Inmates are closely monitored, but many still have access to education and legal support. Unlike the toughest female prison Scandinavian prisons, even female offenders of serious crimes receive mental health care, education, and work opportunities to reintegrate into society. 3. Living conditions. The world's toughest female prison provides bare minimum necessities, with overcrowded cells, poor hygiene, and limited medical care. Prisoners often suffer from malnutrition and mental breakdowns due to isolation. By contrast, Santa Monica Women's Prison, Peru. Women live in extreme poverty-like conditions, sometimes with their children. HMP Bronzefield, UK. Considered one of the harshest female prisons in the UK, but still provides medical care and some rehabilitation programs. German prisons. Female inmates have access to education, work programs, and social reintegration services, ensuring a smoother transition after release. Conclusion. The world's toughest female prison stands out for its brutal discipline, severe punishment, and lack of rehabilitation efforts. While many high-security prisons worldwide enforce strict rules, most still allow some level of personal growth and reform. In contrast, this facility operates under the belief that punishment is the only solution, making survival the primary focus for its inmates rather than rehabilitation. Life inside the world's toughest female prison is not just physically demanding, but also mentally and emotionally devastating. The harsh conditions, strict discipline, and extreme isolation take a severe toll on inmates, often leaving them with long-term psychological damage. Here's how the environment affects their mental state. 1. Extreme isolation and loneliness. One of the biggest psychological challenges in this prison is isolation. Inmates have little to no contact with the outside world, as family visits, phone calls, and letters are heavily restricted or banned altogether. The lack of human interaction leads to severe depression and anxiety, emotional numbness or detachment, suicidal thoughts, and self-harm too. Constant fear and paranoia. Prisoners live in a constant state of fear due to the unpredictable punishments, aggressive guards, and violent inmates. Even a small mistake can result in solitary confinement, physical punishment, or loss of basic privileges. This leads to paranoia and extreme distrust of others, heightened aggression or withdrawal from reality, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD 3, loss of identity and self-worth. The prison's punishment. First approach strips inmates of their individuality. They are treated as numbers rather than people, leading to low self-esteem and hopelessness. Difficulty adjusting if released back into society. A higher chance of reoffending due to a broken mindset. 4. Emotional breakdown and mental disorders. With overcrowded cells, poor hygiene, and little to no medical or psychological support, many inmates develop severe mental health issues, including schizophrenia and hallucinations from prolonged isolation, bipolar disorder, and emotional instability. Suicidal tendencies due to lack of hope. 5. The cycle of institutionalization. After years of enduring such extreme conditions, many inmates become completely dependent on the prison system. They struggle to function outside its rigid structure, leading to fear of freedom and reintegration struggles, higher chances of returning to crime due to lack of coping skills, emotional detachment from family and loved one. Conclusion: the psychological and emotional impact of this prison is devastating and often irreversible. Unlike modern prisons that focus on rehabilitation, this facility operates under the belief that punishment is the only form of justice. As a result, most inmates leave, if they ever do, in a worse mental state than when they arrived, making reintegration into society nearly impossible. When comparing the world's toughest female prison to other notorious women's prisons worldwide, it becomes clear that its brutality, extreme security, and complete lack of rehabilitation efforts set it apart. While many prisons enforce strict rules, few operate with such unrelenting harshness, where survival takes priority over reform. The prison's zero-tolerance policies, severe punishments, and psychological torment make it one of the most feared institutions. Unlike Scandinavian prisons, which focus on rehabilitation, or even high-security prisons in the US and Russia that allow some level of legal support, this facility offers no second chances. Inmates here face constant isolation, dehumanization, and extreme mental and physical hardships, leading to long-term emotional damage. While places like Black Dolphin Prison, Russia, and Klong Prem Prison, Thailand, are known for their harsh conditions, this facility's complete lack of basic human rights, rehabilitation programs, and outside contact arguably make it the toughest female prison in the world. For many inmates, it is not just a prison. It is a lifelong psychological sentence. Whether they are released or not, in the end, whether this is truly the most extreme women's prison depends on how one defines toughest. If toughness means brutality, strict control, and a survival-based environment, then this prison undoubtedly holds the title. However, if the measure includes chances for reform and reintegration, then other prisons with similarly harsh conditions but some rehabilitation efforts might compare. Regardless, life inside this facility is a nightmare few would ever escape from, physically or mentally.